We're seeing more of these images, and the images that are coming out of Syria, southern Syria, the city of Daraa, are becoming more troubling by the day. Certainly the number of dead is increasing each day according to human rights activists and observers there on the ground. These protests appear to be gathering more momentum. Initially started out very localised in Daraa about local issues, people trying to have some of the political prisoners being released from prison. It has grown since then as we've seen more people being killed, more people have come out on the streets to join into these protests. They're now talking about much wider aims and overturning the emergency law that's been in place there for 48 years, outlawing this type of dissent, trying to have more recognition of human rights, democracy. Speaking to people within Syria, of course, it's a very difficult place to get information out of, very much a closed state, and the government there having an iron grip on the country. But speaking to people, the one thing we're hearing now, this motto that's being shouted, this rallying cry of an end to fear, that the people think that there is momentum with them. They've seen the events in other parts of the Middle East, and that's galvanising them. But of course, we're also seeing this response from the security services and different sides of the story. State TV there are saying that it is the protesters who've been the instigators, the perpetrators of violence, and hearing from others saying that it is in fact the state security that is firing on the protesters themselves. So a murky situation, these images becoming more troubling. Of course, as you say, CNN can't authenticate this video, but it certainly shows that tension is rising, that violence is increasing, at least on the streets in southern Syria. Zain?
Stan, what's the reality here? I mean, it is hard to predict, but with most of the people that you've spoken to, do they think that Syria, the regime of Bashar al-Assad, could fall?
Well, people have been watching and waiting. This, of course, has been contained to the southern part of the country, a country that has seen this type of unrest before. It's a very tribalised part of the country, and others are watching how these events unfold to see how the government reacts. If you look at the trend of this, it's following a similar trend that we've seen in other parts of the Middle East. It begins localised, it grows, the aims of the protesters, the demands of the protesters increase, you get a security crackdown, and then some form of consolidation or some form of olive branch reaching out from the government. So we're still to see how this will unfold, but it's certainly bringing very much into focus the rule of Bashar al-Assad. Now, here's a person who came to power a little over 10 years ago now with the death of his father Hafiz, a man who ruled for 30 years very much with an iron fist. So much more was promised, so much more was expected. It was going to be opened up, become more liberal, move towards greater expression of human rights and democracy. Last year, Human Rights Watch put out a report calling it the lost decade, that a lot of these promises simply did not materialise. And now with this uprising, we're seeing, if you listen to human rights activists and others on the ground, they're seeing this stern response from security forces. Some are asking now if he is indeed his father's son.